Record audio. Hello, 7th and 8th graders that are not here today. We are going through what I like to call the Creed on page 16. I'm going to, because I can't figure it out, I'm not smart enough to figure out how to do screen recording as well as audio recording. You're going to just get the audio for today. We're on page 16. I apologize for the clacking of my computer keyboard. If that annoys you, I apologize for that. So, we are going to be going through the Creed, first article, line by line, or rather paragraph by paragraph for today. We're going to start with the what does this mean? What does this mean? I believe that, and you should underline this, I believe that God has made me and all creatures. That's what you should be underlining. God has made me and all creatures. That's kind of the point. That's a thesis statement of that particular paragraph in your first article of the Creed. Elo do spolo. And so, what that means for us as Christians is we ask the question, how did God, me and all creatures. I am bad at spelling and or grammar. So, what that means is we ask another question along with that. How did God create? How did God create? And so I'm going to ask you to write that down too. How did God create? If He created me and all creatures, how did He create me and all creatures? Well, if Tierra, who is a creative genius, of course, wanted to create something, Tierra would create something out of other stuff. Say if Tierra was a flautist, that's a way to call a flute player, she would be able to create a new melody on the flute as an accomplished flautist that nobody else had ever created before. It would be a unique creation of Tierra the flautist, which means flute player. But she created it out of something else. She created it with a flute, namely, she used something that's already created to create something else. All right, that's much of what we do. In fact, that's everything that we do, right? Nobody came up with the combustion engine out of nothing. It was created out of component parts. We said, all right, we can refine this stuff in the ground that we call metal. And then we can also refine this other stuff that we find in the ground called dead dinosaurs into what we like to call gasoline. And we can combine them in a new and innovative way to create something new. Previous to the combustion engine, Mountain Man, there was no combustion engine. Nobody had one, and they're like, oh yeah, that's just what I was doing 1,000 years ago. No, it wasn't. And there wasn't a combustion engine 1,000 years before that. This was the very first time in all of history that somebody had decided to make explosions happen inside of a metal box so that you can move an automobile, which is why they're called automobiles, because they're mobile, right? They move auto by themselves, right? They don't need anything else to move them. They move themselves. So, we create by means, we create stuff out of other stuff. Do you guys know the laws of thermodynamics? I believe one of the laws of thermodynamics is?
Energy cannot be created or destroyed by kind of something else.
Energy cannot be created or destroyed by what?
This is something else when I read about engines.
Mm-hmm.
They don't actually explode the gas, you just expand it. They explode the engine knob.
Right, I'm sorry, I was overstating the case.
Higher octane values, the more you compress it without exploding. Meaning if you put too low of an octane value, if you put too low of an octane value, it will not, which is basically the equivalent of going like this with a hammer to your engine block.
Right, yeah. The engine won't work the way that it was designed to work if the octane value of the fuel is too low. All right. But I set us up, Zack Attack, I set us up so that we could understand that God creates in a different way. How did God create? And I'm going to ask you to write this down. It's creatio ex nihilo. Creatio ex nihilo. And you should creatio ex Nihilo. That's Latin. That's the Latin for creation out of nothing. Creatio ex nihilo, creation from nothing. All right, so when we're calling God Creator, when we're calling God the Father Almighty, Maker, Creator of heaven and earth, we are saying that He creates in a way that is utterly unique. Yeah, Andrew. Well, if you want to put on your mask and go to the church office and get a pencil, you're welcome to do that. Yes, I do believe they do. Yeah. Well, go to the church office, please. All right. Creatio ex nihilo, creation out of nothing. Creation out of nothing. And that's unique from, say, what Tierra the flautist, which means flute player, would do. She creates something out of something else. She's creating a new melody out of a flute and out of her experiences. On the other hand, what God does is He does something entirely unique and different from that. He creates something out of nothing. So, go in your Bibles to Genesis chapter 1. This is going to be pretty standard, right? You've done this before. Genesis chapter 1. Genesis chapter 1, verses 1, 2, and 3. Genesis chapter 1, verses 1, 2, and 3. That's what we're looking for. Ethan, when you get there, please read Genesis chapter 1, verses 1, 2, and 3 for us. Because this is, of course, God creating everything out of nothing. God also does other things, but this is one of the ways that He creates, and this is the way that is utterly unique among all of that. So, Ethan, please do read Genesis chapter 1, verses 1, 2, and 3.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void. The darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Thank you very much. So there are a couple things that God does when God creates. He creates out of nothing, but then He also creates by dividing and ordering what He created. All right? Dividing and ordering what He created. So part of the creation account is God creating out of nothing. God saying, "Let there be light," and there was light. There wasn't light before, but there is light now. But He also divides and orders His creation, right? So the darkness He calls night, the light He calls day, right? He orders our creation into seasons and stars, into years, and all of that, okay? Days and weeks and months and years and seasons and decades and millennia. He divides and He orders what He created. But the biggest unique thing, we can divide and we can order, right? Say, if I asked you to, in this room, divide the chairs from the tables, you could do that, right? That's not unique. That's not a unique property of God. But a unique property of God is for Him to say, "Let there be tables and chairs," and there were tables and chairs. And then He says, "Let there not be any more tables and chairs," and there are not any tables and chairs, right? That would be creatio ex nihilo. That would be creating out of nothing. And that's what it's saying in that first article, or in that first paragraph of the first article explanation of the Creed. All right, second paragraph there. He also gives me clothing and shoes, food and drink, house and home, wife and children, land, animals, and all that I have. All right, so when it's saying all that list of things, it's not just saying, I'll say it like this. When I was a 7th or 8th grader, I thought it was real weird to confess that He gives me a wife and children. I thought it was real weird because I didn't have a wife and kids at that time. I wouldn't for like a decade and a half or 2 decades, something like that. But what Luther's trying to do here is he's trying to say, like, everything that you have he has given you. Okay? And that's what you should underline in that next part. Underline this. He richly and daily provides me with all that I need to support this body and life. That's what you should underline in there. That's the point of that second paragraph, that he richly and daily provides me with all that I need to support this body and life. So, of course, the question that we would ask there, which is what you should write down next, is what are, or I shouldn't ask it like that. How do we get these things? All right, so Zach, you're going to have to stand. You're going to have to sit at the other side of the table, please. This is not working right now. Thank you very much. Please do take your small catechism so that you can write things down. So, the question that I want you to write down on the margin is, how do we get these things? How do we get these things? And sometimes God just makes them appear. Like, say, in the story of Moses and the people of Israel in the desert, he makes manna appear. He just makes it appear. It just comes up from out of the ground or enters with the mists in the morning. I don't know how it happened, but God just made manna appear. And the reason that the word manna means what now? Yeah, that manna in Hebrew means what now? Like what? What is this? It doesn't mean bread. It just means, what is that? And it makes sense that it would mean, what is that? Because that's what they would have said when they saw manna. They'd be like, what now? What is that? What do you got going there? What do you got going there? Are you going to eat that? Manna? 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 What now? What now? What now? What now? Yeah, tear up.
Do they ever explain what manna is like?
Yeah, they do explain what manna is like. And if you look it up, if you find out what it is and look it up, I'll give you a quarter tomorrow. I didn't give any of you a quarter last time because none of you actually did it in and reported on it in the time frame specified. But this is a Tierra only challenge. Tierra, the flautist only, has the challenge to look up what manna is, figure out what it is, or what they describe it as, and then if she tells me that by tomorrow, then she gets a quarter. Look, it's been recorded for all time in the audio recording, and so as the ancient pharaohs used to say, so let it be written, so let it be done. All right, Ethan the pilot. No, this is a Tierra only challenge, flute player challenge here. So, how do we get these things? So sometimes, and this is the point of what I was saying before, sometimes just God provides by His own power. But every other time, and this is what you want to write down in the margins underneath of the question, how do we get these things? Every other time, He uses means. He uses means. So you should write that down. How do we get these things? How do we get all of this? Clothing and shoes, food and drink, house and home, wife and children, land, animals, and all that I have. We get that because God uses means in order to give it to us. It is conceivable that God could, right, just see that Caleb is hungry and wa-cha-cha! Just lightning bolt some food into his stomach. He doesn't even have to use his mouth then. Wa-cha-cha! Caleb is no longer hungry because God has used His immediate power to make him not hungry. But God does not typically work like that. Instead, what He does is He works through farmers to raise cattle. He works through slaughterhouses in order to process that cattle. He works through grocery stores to care for and to package that cow meat. We call it, I believe, beef these days. And then he works through Caleb and his parents to work for money, and for that money to pay for the beef that he wants to eat. God works through all of those means. It's very, very interesting, because that means that the whole, at least in terms of food, right? That's the example that we're going with today. At least in terms of food, God works through all people, especially those in the food service industry. That is, hands and feet are those people who are preparing your food for you along the way. And so, instead of God saying to Victoria, Victoria, are you hungry? And then zapping food into your stomach, wha-pa-pa! God actually works in a way that he had designed and planned from when he created everything out of nothing. The world works in the way that he ordered it to work, so that it would all work together, so that people would be provided for. Now, it doesn't actually work like that all the time because, of course, of sin. And we talked about that last time. We're not going to talk about it today. How do we get these things? Most often, God works through means. All right, next paragraph. Things that you should underline in the next paragraph. He defends me. He defends me against all danger and guards and protects me from every evil. Oops, I bolded that instead of underlining. He defends me. That's what you should underline there. That's the point of that particular paragraph. He defends me. How does he defend you? By means, once again, by the police, by the army, by the order of the government. And he also defends you by his holy angels. By his holy angels. We regularly pray for that he would guard and protect us by his holy angels to do all that we need for him to do. Right? Ever heard of Luther's morning and evening prayer? Yeah, we pray in the Luther's morning and evening prayer that God would send his holy angels to defend us, to guard us, to protect us. That's pretty cool. And so, he defends us by means, by the order of the government, by army, by police. Obviously, once again, that is stricken with sin. So like, say, if you lived in war-torn Poland in World War II times, that would not have worked out the way that it's working out for us today. There are certainly all sorts of good questions that we can ask and answer about police, about the army, about the order of the government in these days, as we consider again, right, our Christianity and how our Christianity interacts with our nation. But we're not going to do that right now. Instead, we're going to go on to the fourth paragraph of the explanation of the first article of the Creed. Right next to the beginning of that paragraph, you should write the question, why? Because the fourth paragraph is all about the why. All about the why. Why would God do this? And of course, I'll read directly from the first article explanation. The answer is, all this he does because Ella is an awesome person and she has merited the worthiness of God to defend, guard, provide, and create her. No, that's not what it says, even though you are a pretty awesome person, Ella. But God does not do this because you earned it. No, God does this. Why? And then you can underline this, only out of fatherly, divine goodness and mercy. That's what you should underline in that paragraph, only out of fatherly, divine goodness and mercy. That is the reason for which, the reason by which God does all of this. For which or by which? I don't know. And oh boy, somebody's listening to this, or somebody will listen to this someday, and they will think to themselves, they will think, oh, if only we were listening to that original composition from Tierra the Flautist today. I really wish that that was happening instead of Pastor Muther blathering on right now. Oh, what a great original composition that would be. All right. Why? Only out of fatherly divine goodness and mercy. And so, until Mr. Mertens gets here, this is the question that I want you to ponder for yourself. Write down a little answer to this. If it's only out of fatherly divine goodness and mercy, the question becomes, what does a good father do? That's what I'd like for you to ponder on as we finish out this lesson today. We are out of time for me, but we will be waiting on Mr. Mertens. So as we are, please do ask this question of yourself: what does a good father do? So write down an answer on the bottom of your page. And I am going to sign us out on the audio recording. Take care. God bless our audio friends. Bye.